The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, this is April from Chime. I wanted to thank you all for joining us today. But before we get started, I actually wanted to give a shout out for a few people who joined 30 minutes before the webinar. LZ Felton, Linda Botello, Liz Rush, Megan Rutherford, and Penny Torres. Go check out your emails very soon. We're going to be sending you and asking you for your addresses. We wanted to give you some Chime socks. They're really cute. They're actually custom made. And we wanted to thank you guys for being on time. And we also want to thank everyone else that's here on time. One thing that we wanted to bring up is, we all really want to talk about lead generation and giving people a memorable journey. From them knowing your name to also then going onto the website to choosing you as their agent, it's really a customer journey more so than you're curating this story all overall. So I'm really excited to bring Shon Kokoszka on here. He's a dear friend of mine. I've known him for a few years now, and he's one of the best to talk about customer journeys and really coaching you through the ways on how to talk to agents. So it's my pleasure to bring him on board. Before I pass it on to Shon, I also want to let you guys know that we do have another webinar coming on the 7th, and you'll shortly get some information about that, and it's about intro to technology. With that said, hey Shon, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you. Well, please.
All right. So should we just dive right in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, I'm excited. Okay, well, welcome everybody to our webinar today. Now, it's my intention to just really motivate you, inspire you to maybe a different approach, to have you view your business service through a different lens. See, the easiest way to gain trust and influence with people, well, it's through education. It's also done through a wow experience. In essence, we don't want to be in a position where we have to ask for referrals, right? Rather, I'd encourage you to hire referrals through the service that you give. And let's face it, customer service is nothing more and nothing less than a mindset to where you want that Disney type experience where they're going to tell their friends, they're going to tell their family members about it. It's my intention to share with you some of the proven best practices that I've picked up, being a trainer, consultant, coach for the last 25 years. Now, gang, I've sold over 4,000 homes in my real estate career. I've owned mortgage companies, title companies, land development company, home building company, and literally $1 billion in sales. So I'd have to be an idiot not to recognize the patterns of success as well as the patterns of failure in this business. And let's face it, failure really comes from making just a few errors in judgment every day. Now, here's the good news. Success comes from doing just a few things right in this business every single day, meaning we don't have to be disciplined in all things, just a few things. When you think about Pareto's principle, the 80-20 rule, see, 20% of your activities will yield a minimum of 80% of your results. And gang, in that model, in Pareto's principle, which I believe is a principle that is true as the law of gravity, there's really only 5 things that you have to focus on and give an inordinate amount of time to. And those few things that you can do right every day, it's really quite simple. There's only 5. It's lead generate, lead follow-up, go on appointments, negotiate contracts, and practice your skill. Now remember, practice isn't something we did. Rather, it's something that meaning we're always sharpening the saw so we can be more effective and increase our conversion rates. So I want to talk a little bit about this word here real quick. That word is success. And let's face it, if you had the time and took the time to ask 1,000 different people, what is your definition of this word? Chances are you'd get around 1,200 different responses, right? Rather, I went to Webster's dictionary. I just looked up the word. I thought if I understood the definition, well, then I too could be successful. So they say that success is getting what you want, not what someone else wants, what you want. So instinctively and inherently, in order to be successful, guys, each and every one of you, you need to know something, right? Exactly, that's what you want. Yet unfortunately, I find that people, they take an average approach to identifying what they want, and even worse, an average approach on how they're going to go about getting it. So today, I just want to share with you some of the proven best practices that I've picked up, because I recognize, success leaves clues. There are others that have gone before us. And through the analysis of this, the success of others, as well as the missteps that they've taken in their path to, shall I say, iconic status in this industry, we've discovered those proven best practices. So at Icon Coaching, one of our for a monthly webinar, and it's complimentary to attend. Essentially, I identify one icon, somebody who's just literally crushing it in real estate, like John Murray, by the way. I mean, the guy will close over 1,100 transactions per year. Mark Spain, who'll close over 3,100 transactions per year. In fact, I just interviewed this gentleman last week, Russell Shaw, as the icon of the month for February 2018. He's been in the top 1% of realtors since 1991, guys. And what he does is he opens a Komodo and says, here's what I've done, here's how I did it, here's my missteps or learning experiences that you can learn rather than going through the brain damage yourself, and here's what I've done to be successful. So I'll encourage you to go to our website merely to register for that free icon of the month. In fact, I'm interviewing a guy out of Naples, Florida, who's consistently doing over 300 transactions per year. And by the way, he's working about 40 hours per week. He's going to tell us how he does that, okay? So iconcoachingre.com, free to attend. I encourage you to engage. So let's talk about this wow experience for your clients as well as your prospects. And let's think about this. How can we give them that wow experience before we've ever even met them face to face? Now, what I want to talk about specifically today is buyer lead conversion. And I really want to go through virtually every step in the process, clear up to pre-contract. So all the way through to buyer agency contract signed, okay? So before you meet them, how can you add a wow to them before you even meet them? So I'll go back to my past, and I'll tell you that when I was actively selling real estate, and we were in an office building that had congested parking, to say the least. I mean, it was difficult to find a close parking spot, and oftentimes they had to walk at least a block in order to get to our office. So I negotiated with the landlord to acquire a parking spot literally right by the front doors. Now, it wasn't for me because it's never about me. Rather, what we did is we added a post and about a 2-foot by 2-foot sign. It was already pre-printed. It says the Kokoszka group welcomes, and then the rest was blank, and it was just a white canvas. Now my assistant would go down in between appointments, and whoever was showing up next, she had really great handwriting, and she took one of those wet erase markers down with her, and she would just really nicely write in the person's last name. So when I set an appointment for them to come to the office, I told them, parking is congested in our area, and I want you to just pull right up to the front of the building, right by the front doors. There's a special parking spot right there for you. You can't miss it. So in essence, before even meeting them face to face, they get this wow experience. Well, my name on a sign, look at that. Then they step into the foyer of the office, and there's another sign. It says the Kokoszka group welcomes, and there's their name again. Wow. Then they're greeted by the call coordinator, who then has them take a seat, hands them a clipboard, just like at the doctor's office, which has 3 forms on that clipboard, which I'm going to go through with you in detail today. And the individual would start filling that out. Then a couple of minutes later, the call coordinator would show up with a leather-bound menu of items that they could order from the call coordinator, meaning, what kind of snacks do they want? What kind of drink do they want? And the call coordinator would literally take their order, go back to the kitchen, assemble it, bring it into the conference room, and have it already at their seat and ready to go for them. So additionally, they would be given, let's say it's a buyer prospect. They'd be given a satchel that was branded to the Kokoszka group that had bottles of water in it. It had a tape measure. It had a level. It had snacks. It had coloring books, crayons, if they had kids. All of the things that we thought that they would need while they're out looking at homes was already in there for them. So again, they haven't met me face to face, yet they're getting all of these wow type touches. Like I said, customer service, it's merely an expectation. So let's talk about, during the home search and the marketing phase. So what can you do that will create a wow type experience? So my input to you is, for example, if you take a listing, and of course, most showings are going to occur on the weekends or in the evening. So why not give them a handful of gift certificates to, or gift cards rather, to local coffee shops, ice cream parlors, things like that, a place to go when showings are happening, something that they can actually do with their family and spend some quality time together. We developed a 10-day to close system, and I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself, yet I thought I'd bring this up since it popped into my head. See, oftentimes during the course of the post-purchase pre-close, there's really not a lot of opportunity or necessity for communication, especially in like a new home construction type of a relationship where you represent the buyer, they go under contract on the new build, it's going to take 6 to 8 months to build this house. Now let's face it, how often can you call them and say, yep, they're still building the house, right? So there's a lack of communication during that extended period of time. So what we did is we initiated a 10-day to close system where our under contracts manager, or client care manager for buyers in this case, would have a checklist and a script for the 10 business days leading up to the closing of their home. So in essence, the client care manager for buyers would have a script for day one, which was just a little tidbit of information that they would share with them about the upcoming closing. Day two, they would again share just a little bit of information in an effort not to overwhelm them and have things slip through the cracks. Now we did this intentionally. Number one, so they could be really, just really prepared for the closing. Number two, though, to leave that lasting impression. So for the 5 months before that, we really didn't communicate that much. However, the 10 days leading up to close left a lasting impression. So after closing, the perception was, well, we over communicated during that under contract phase. Additionally, I would encourage you to offer to send out just moved cards for them. So meaning most people, when they buy a new house, they're going to send out to their little black book, their contacts in essence, the just moved notification. Now this is something you can take off their plate, and all they have to do is provide you with an Excel spreadsheet of the name, address of the individuals that they'd like to be notified. You can also offer to notify them via email as well, so that you can get the email address. Now you do this for a couple of purposes. Number one, to add value to your client. And that's the bottom line. That's what we choose to do. Number two, though, once they provide you with that database, then you simply add those people to your database, and then you consistently nurture and drip on those folks as well in a 12th direct touch campaign. So also a couple of things that we did during the home search or leading up to closing, if the purchase or sale was above 300.
Hi. Are people able to hear him? Hey, Shon, I think we just lost you. Okay, so all I hear is 300. Give us 1 second and we will find out. We do know that we can't hear Shon at the moment.
Some things you can do is like the limousine. I would recommend you to bring a testimony book. Now, here's what happens. The first person to fill in your testimony book, since the pages are blank, they're going to give you 1 or 2 sentences. Now, the second person that completes your testimony book, they're going to give you a paragraph. The third person, they're going to give you a page. See, I liken this to if you've ever stayed at like a bed and breakfast, or you had a friend who gave you their vacation home, for example, and they had that book of memories, right? See, if you open up to the first page, it's really just a few sentences. The second person who fills it out, though, they want to prove that they had a better time than the first person. So they're going to do a paragraph. And the third page it's a full page or even 2 pages long, because everybody wants to outdo the next person. Then you take that testimony book on every listing presentation you go on, every buyer initial counseling session, you have that on the conference room table. And as you excuse yourself maybe to grab some listings for them to look at or whatever the case is, you can encourage them to look through your testimony book.
Hey, Shon.
By the way, yes, go ahead.
I apologize. We actually lost you for a second after you mentioned 300. Can you repeat that just for a bit?
Oh, fantastic. So I apologize for that. So if the purchase price was 300, is that what you're referencing or above?
Yes.
Okay, we would send a limousine to pick up our buyer client or seller client to take them to closing. So if it were a buyer, the limo would bring them to the bank, get them their cashier's check. They would drive them to our office to attend to their closing. See, we wanted to make this a monumental event in their life. So I negotiated with a friend of mine I went to high school with. He started a limousine service and he wanted to expand his clientele. So because it was in off hours, generally speaking, for a limousine service, he only charges $100 to go over and pick up our clients and bring them to closing. Now, as soon as they left the limousine, he would fill the back of it with balloons and champagne. He too wanted to leave a lasting impression. So a couple of other ideas, post-closing, to bring a basket of home essentials. Guys, I'm talking about things like hand towels, hand soap, those big sheets of plastic in the event that it were to rain or something that can actually cover the things that are sitting out on the driveways. They're waiting to bring them in. Toilet paper, pizza, beer, things like the things that they're going to need when they're moving. By the way, post-closing, let's talk a little bit more about this. For every one of our buyer prospects, we would do a housewarming party. See, this is another thing that they stress out about a little bit, and they're trying to get their home all set and ready to go. And what we wanted to do is make their life easy. So we asked them, who did they want to invite to their home warming party? We would have them provide us with a list of those people, including name, email address, their mailing address, and their phone number. And then we would invite all of those people to attend the housewarming party. And we would provide the food, the drinks, and I would stop by for about 20 minutes with one intention. And that's literally to just meet every single person there, shake their hands, make it all about them. And I got to tell you, there was never a time that I attended a housewarming party for one of my clients that they didn't raise their glass to toast their real estate agent in front of all of their friends and family. Guys, you can't get a better endorsement than that. So, by the way, there was also never a time that I did a housewarming party with people that I didn't get at least 2 solid referrals. And of course, the people we invited to attend the housewarming party, we added them to our database and we dripped on them with a 12 direct touch campaign. Also customer appreciation events. I wouldn't spend a ton of money on that stuff. In fact, I would look for ways to save money at all costs. In fact, I would also do something that relates to real estate. See, we did the movie of the quarter where we invited all of our clients to a movie house. And because it wasn't a public event, it was a private event, I could rent out the entire theater for $300. I could buy them all a soda and popcorn for another $300. And we would go see a really popular G or at worst a PG rated movie where the whole family could come. And we'd buy them all tickets and we had a captive audience. So leading up to that, referral contests are really, every time they send a referral, their name goes in the bucket, if you will, and you draw the winner. Now, no limit on number of times they can enter the competition, right? And the last one we did, we gave away a cruise for 2, including airfare. So I'd encourage things like that. Now, I did say though, relate it to real estate. I've got a simple idea that I want to share with you. And it's a real estate investor seminar, where you personally do not have to be liable for the creation of all the content of this seminar. I'll explain. You personally don't have to be liable for all the promotion leading up to the seminar, and I'll explain. See, what you can do through a host-parasite relationship, which I hate the term, yet it really does describe what it is I'm talking about. You go to what I would call promotion partners, where you go to a 1031 tax-deferred exchange specialist, invite them to speak at the real estate investor seminar about how to defer capital gains. You go to a CPA and you ask them to speak at the real estate investor seminar for just 10 minutes on how to depreciate properties and assets and take advantage of the tax strategies. You go to a real estate attorney and you ask them to talk for 10 minutes about how they can establish an LLC to host the assets that they purchase to eliminate liability. You can go to a mortgage loan originator and ask them to talk about how to put their dormant equity to work for them, in essence, cash out refinance, and leverage that cash out to buy investment properties. You can go to a financial planner and ask them to talk about how to convert their 401k to a self-directed IRA and invest their own money in real estate and control their financial destiny. You go to an insurance agent, a P&C insurance agent, and ask them to talk for 10 minutes about what type of policies they're going to need on non-owner occupied income property. And then, of course, you MC the event. You're the last one to take the stage, and you talk to them about certain opportunities that are available in the market today. Now, not only are you present and prepare the content for your real estate investor seminar right along with you, you'll also ask them to promote and market the event to their respective databases. So rather than you inviting the 500 people that are in your database, and yes, you could do that, and you might get 25 or 30 people to show up, rather going to these professionals that have been in business for an extended period of time, they probably have a database of anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 people. So you're inviting 7 people to invite their respective databases. Chances are you're inviting 10 to 15,000 people to attend this event, and chances are you'll get 250 to 300 people show up. Also, you don't have to pay all the expenses associated with venue and refreshments and hors d'oeuvres or cocktails after the fact at a happy hour type thing. Rather, you each share in your pro rata share of expenses. So the first real estate investor seminar I did, gang, let me just share the results with you. I placed 8 properties under contract with an average sales price of $832,000 when our average home sale price in our market area was just $170,000. You say, well, how did you increase your sale price by over 500%? Well, it's because people were converting their 401ks to self-directed IRAs. They were doing cash out refinances. And within 30 days, I had placed under contract non-owner occupied properties that were kind of mainstream properties, talking, 4 plexes, 8 units. I did a 20-unit apartment building for $1.45 million. Yet the average came out to $832,000 in just 30 days. Now, if you do the math on that, that's right at $200,000 in gross commission income in just a 30-day period. So it's a really simple idea, yet, frankly, after, post-closing, you've got to consistently add value to people. And getting them to purchase non-owner occupied residential real estate is one way that you can have multiple transactions from a past client. Rather, if you do it in a more linear fashion, you could consistently earn their business, yet on average, they're not going to move, but maybe once every 8 years. So the marketing campaign leading up to this, let me just describe this. It was really quite simple. The first postcard that went out was 3 pictures of the exact same house. And it said under the first picture, it said, sold in 1981 for whatever the price was. The second picture says sold in 1991 for whatever the amount was, and I can't recall. Yet then the next one was a projection leading forward, like 5 years, sold in 20. Cast a vision of appreciation. The second postcard was give your kids a chance at college and have someone else pay for it. See, real estate is one of the only investment vehicles that somebody else. So in order to get there though, guys, we've got to be able to convert the leads that we're generating through aspects like this. Now, what I wanted to do at first was merely talk you through how to inspire referrals and really take care of your database as well as prospects and clients. Yet now I want to get more into some lead conversion strategies and aspects. And I want to start with the contrast. I want to talk through, well, why is it that some realtors are just not converting leads, right? I think the first reason, well, it's response time. So I'm going to reference a case study done by the California Association of Realtors. And the blue line on the left represents the consumer's expectation for response time in real estate. And that chart on the right, the smaller one on the right going from left to right, well, that's what's actually happening. So 49% of our prospects out there today in real estate, well, they expect an instant response, yet only 8% of realtors are actually delivering that. And by the way, I don't think that's on purpose. I think it's merely by happenstance, meaning they just happen to be in front of their computer when the web lead came in, or they happened to answer their phone that time when it rang. Less than 30 minutes, 29% are satisfied, yet only 7% of realtors are delivering that. Less than an hour, it drops dramatically to 16% are satisfied if it's less than an hour, yet 11% of realtors are delivering that. Less than 2 hours drops down to 4%. Yet look at how the tides have turned. 17% of realtors are delivering that type of service. Less than 4 hours, 2% are satisfied, yet 24% of realtors are delivering that. Look at this, same day, 0% are happy. More than 24 hours, again, 0% are happy, yet 10% of realtors are delivering that type of service. I think it's time to raise the bar. And I believe that Chime is the tool, guys, that can help you do that. Now, transparently, from my perspective, I got to tell you, I demoed their platform in January of 2016 and or January of 2017, excuse me. And I thought, well, it's good. I mean, it certainly serves a purpose, and it's good. And then I demoed their platform again this January in 2018, and I'm consistently demoing platforms to find out who's the big dog in the space. Who is it that I'm willing to put my reputation on the line and recommend that our one-on-one coaching clients engage with? And boy, when I did this last demo of Chime, guys, I got to tell you, my jaw literally hit the floor. I mean, it was night and day difference. The technological advances that Chime has integrated over the last 12 and 14 months, guys, I got to tell you, I am a huge fan, a raving fan of what Chime does. So going to this challenge, April, that we all face as it relates to response time, why don't you share with all of us how Chime really helps us solve that problem?
Yeah, absolutely. So Chime allows you to have many different tools to really arm yourself in ways to talk to them. When they first register into your IDX, you get a welcome email or text message that's catered and really tailored the way that you want to say hello to them. And then afterwards, we offer text and drip campaigns through email, text messages, and also these lists that tell you, hey, by the way, don't forget to call them on X day, and you'll get a notification on your phone because Chime is mobile first.
All right, so through these automated campaigns and automated text messages, they can literally respond instantaneously when somebody registers on the site or inquires about a property online, correct?
Yes, that's absolutely correct. There's even a chat function that you can automatically talk to someone.
So the chat function, can you do that from the mobile device as well?
Oh, absolutely. So you can do that, and then you'll get a notification or one of your agents. There's also lead scoring or lead ways for your agents. So in case you're in a team, and let's say it was assigned to an agent, but they didn't respond within a few minutes, we're able to actually do a round robin or a Shark Tank. So any of your agents can reach out as quick as possible too.
Well, I love that, April. Phenomenal. How is Chime using artificial intelligence or AI?
So one of the ways that we're actually leveraging AI is when your lead has been really interacting with your website or have been interacting with you, like via, checking out the emails, clicking through the call to actions that you've been having, it'll actually recommend you some action plans in case you're not already on there. And it says, hey, we noticed that, this agent has been on here on your website for the last 3 times. Maybe it's time to put them on this drip campaign, etc. And you can say, yes,
so
this is the next method I want to do.
So a prospect goes to your site that Chime provides for you, and they log into the IDX and they look at a property 3 different times, then Chime is automatically going to notify me that this person should be launched on this particular plan to increase conversion. That's what you're telling us, right?
That's correct.
That's phenomenal. Gotta love that. So that's exciting, guys, with the chat functionality, not only from your desktop, laptop, also your mobile phone. I think it's phenomenal to hear what you guys are doing. So let's talk about some other reasons why agents are not converting leads. And I think it really stems from number of attempts. So, there's a recent case study done. And out of all of the real estate web leads that were provided to this pool of real estate agents, the average number of attempts turned out to be 1.2 attempts in a 30-day period. Meaning, on average, they called them 1 time, and if the prospect did not call them back, well, then they just threw it in the trash can. See, that to me is crazy. See, in the same case study, they referenced that if you attempt to contact this prospect 6 times over a 6-day period, your chances of conversion increase by 900%. You're thinking 6 times in 6 days on earth am I going to say to them? How am I going to leave them a voicemail message? What does that need to sound like? Now, here's my input. Most realtors, by default, because it's logical, they're going to call the prospect back about the property they initially inquired about. Now, nothing could be more detrimental to your conversion rates. Let me share with you that after analyzing tens of thousands of leads, the chances of them actually purchasing the home that they originally inquired about, it's less than 1%. So if you call them back about the one property they contacted you about and say something like, yeah, you inquired about 123 Main Street, did you get all the information? Which again is logical, yet information is abundant in our digital era. So yes, they've already gotten the information and they have a couple of goals that I'm going to share with you in just a moment. Yet the chances of you selling them a home if you call them back about the one they called you about, well, I believe it's less than 1%. So how is it that Chime really helps agents increase the number of attempts? April, can you help us out with that?
I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. So actually, what Chime actually does in order to help attempt is we give you the different ways that you can actually reach out to them. So some agents, actually Bill Jenkins just asked, like, majority of leads actually seem to want to be contacted, but they actually do. They reached out for a reason. They may not actually like the emails. They may not actually like phone calls, but that's up to you to actually be able to look and kind of find out what their best method of communication is. I certainly am a text message person. If you email me, I may not respond, unfortunately, because I have 500 emails. So that is, and that you can get an instant response from me that way. That's why with the study that you have, we know this, right? And that's why you want to touch them multiple times with all different methods. And Chime allows you to, send a mass blast, but also on text message and or emails, but also give that personalized, field text that says, "Hey, Shon, how are you doing today? Thank you so much for signing up," et cetera, et cetera. So there are methods to make it seem personal, but also allow you to do that. We do it via text message, phone calls, voicemails, emails, and we recommend you calling them also.
Undoubtedly. Good job, April. Thank you for that. I have an off-the-wall question. I'm just curious, can you embed URLs into your text message sequence campaign? Like, for example, if I had a video on YouTube that I wanted to share with somebody, could I actually put that URL into the text message campaign?
Oh, absolutely. And better yet, you can actually just embed the YouTube video, and or we partner with companies like BombBomb that allow you to actually have those video emails automatically. And if you're not familiar with BombBomb, they have the little gifts that says, "Hey, play me," and you play on it and it's a personal one-on-one. They already know how you look like. If not, they're going to find out how you look like anyways. And video is just amazing. So you definitely can do it that way too. And you can record it automatically on Chime.
Yeah, April, I think one of the biggest challenges that we face in real estate sales today is that because of the digital revolution and how lead generation is occurring now and how leads are self-identifying now, there's really now 2 distinct buckets that we have to be cautious or consciously aware of. I'd say the first bucket is the dreaming phase bucket, meaning they couldn't sleep one night, they're in their pajamas, they decide to go onto Zillow, they see a house that looks interesting, they're not necessarily in the market, and yet they fill out a web form, and the realtor gets the lead, and they're like, "Ooh, how exciting, I got a lead," yet this is not a lead at all. This is not even a prospect at all. I think it's more of a suspect, not a prospect. Yet the realtor gets excited, they try to call them once, maybe twice, and they say, "Oh, this lead is junk, let's throw it away." So the second bucket, though, is what I would call the buying or listing phase bucket. Now, here's the biggest challenge as I see it. And that is, if we ignore them during the dreaming phase, they'll ignore us when they're in the buying or listing phase. So through your automation, your email drip campaigns, your text messaging, and by the way, the ability to do broadcast texts, bulk texts, meaning if you had a bucket of leads that came in through your Chime platform, and let's say there were 200 on there, April, you could literally send all of them a text message at the exact same time. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic. So I don't know if I'd recommend that, because you might get 30 responses all at once, right? Yet the good news is that the 30 responses, they're probably in the market to do something, right? So nevertheless, with the email drip campaigns, and Chime, I'm so thankful for you guys, especially on behalf of my clients, because you've taken our proven best practices email drip campaigns, you've integrated it into your platform and added it to automated launch sequences that people can simply launch that plan. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much again for sharing those, all those scripts that you've provided. And, you know, as people are signing up under your name, we definitely have all those loaded for you too.
That's awesome. Good job. So let's go to the next reason why agents aren't converting leads at a high level. And I think it's because they're not efficient with their time. So I just want to share with you a simple habit of productivity. I call it the 4D approach. So anytime, and by the way, I call it a habit because it's going to take time for you to get to the position of bringing this thought process to the point of automaticity. Now, F.M. Alexander said that people do not decide their future, they decide their habits, and their habits decide their future. Now, let's face it, most people form habits without intention. Meaning, April, something happens, right? They have a reaction to that something, and they get a certain result. Now, by the time we're 20 years old, our mind has had so many exposures, we're on autopilot. And the next time that something happens, we react exactly the same way. We brought that reaction to the point of automaticity, right? We don't even think about it. And as a result, we get the same thing that we got last time, the same result. Now, Albert Einstein said, doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different or better result, well, you know what that means. And we're not insane, right? So rather, guys, in order to get to better, we've got to get to different. And this 4D approach, I think, is just different enough to have you really second guess how your habits have been formed. So the first D that I'm going to ask you to go through is, can I ditch it? Does it even need to be done at all? Second D, can I delegate it? Who can do that for me? So as an example, when I started my career at 20 years old, I was a buyer's agent. In fact, I think it was probably the first buyer's agent on the face of the planet. I don't think that model really existed. So we had to fight to get the broker to approve it, yet we did finally. And not only was my rainmaker able to delegate the buying process, which is probably the most time-consuming aspect of this business to me, I was also able to delegate certain aspects of my job to others. I didn't have an assistant or anything like that, yet an inordinate amount of my time was spent following up with buyer prospects that weren't going anywhere, and it was driving me crazy. Yet I did it and the gut-wrenching feeling of following up with a prospect a week too late, and they'd say, "Oh, Shon, I wish you would have called me last week. We just went under contract." And because of that perception of pain, I would be on the phone 3 to 4 hours every day, just sifting through this pool of leads that we had in an effort to find the motivated. Now, I do recognize that motivated prospects are located, they're not created. So what I needed was leverage. Now, leverage comes in 4 basic categories. First, it's leverage through systems. Now, a system to me is a standardized process that produces a consistent and predictable result. Leverage through models. See, when you leverage through a model appropriately, well then it's as though you've identified the proven best practices and you just stick to the model. So what I'm talking about is your lead generation model, your lead follow-up models, your marketing models, your economic model. What does all of this look like? Then finally, it's through technology. And you know, I'm a huge fan of Chime. I think that leveraging through their platform will undoubtedly improve your productivity, which ultimately improves your profit. And then finally, through people. So leveraging through my mortgage loan originator to help me follow up with these leads was absolutely essential. In fact, I contacted my MLO and I said, listen, I want to give you the shot at earning the business of every one of the prospects, buyer prospects that we identify. However, you're going to have to earn that right. Can we set a meeting? They said, absolutely. So I sat them down and I said, listen, I need you to follow up with my C buyer prospects until they buy or die. are you willing to do that? They said, well, I consider it my job. So I verified that they had the technology and the people behind them so that nothing would slip through the cracks. And then I said, you're also going to have to use the scripts that I provide to you. And here's what the first script sounded like. It was, hi, this is John with XYZ Mortgage Company, and Shon Kokoszka asked me to give you a call. Hey, before I begin, I just want to commend you on your selection of a real estate agent. Shon is by far the best realtor I've ever come across. How did you get in touch with Shon? See, if I said that, guys, it would be ego-based. If they say it, well, it's a third-party endorsement. They're looking out for them and commending them on their selection of a real estate agent. And they would literally follow up with these prospects. And there was nothing more gratifying than having my lender call me and say, hey, remember the Smith family that you gave me back on January 23rd of last year? I say, well, yeah, we talk about them every other week. Yet he'd say, yeah, they're ready right now, Shon, you need to call them right away. And literally, I invested zero time following up with these people, yet they were pre-sold, they were expecting my call, and I was able to earn their business. So what is it that you can delegate in your business? Now, let's go to the first one real quick, ditch it. As a buyer's agent, I was closing over 100 buyer sides per year, and an incredible amount of my time was spent at home inspections because that's the way I was trained to do it, that I personally had to attend all of these home inspections. So I approached my broker and I said, listen, I'm going on over 100 inspections per year. The average inspection takes 3 hours, so that's 300 hours. Let's divide by a 40-hour work week. See, that's 7.5 weeks of my life were being invested in home inspections. Now, I believe that we are there to represent our clients in all cases, able to finally, after speaking with our counsel, get my broker to approve my assistant attending these home inspections. At this point, I'd leverage through people to get an assistant. And then I would show up at the very end of the inspection for just 10 minutes to review the high points of the report, bring it back to the client care manager for buyers, who would then negotiate the inspection items. So what can you ditch? What can you delegate? And then the final, or the third would be do it later. So when you work a time block schedule, guys, and there's nothing more important to your day than this. See, the greatest equalizer is this number, 1,440. And that represents the number of minutes that each one of us has in a given day. However, you see somebody with the same 1,440 minutes that is achieving extraordinary results. And you see another person with the same amount of minutes, and yet they're getting a below average result. And I believe it's about what they're putting into the minutes. So it's not the minutes, it's not the hours that you put in, it's what you put into the hours. And it's about how disciplined can you be to follow what I'd call a perfect week schedule. To literally break apart the tasks of the day to say, okay, between 8 and 9 a.m. on Monday, I'm going to be doing this. Between 9 and 10, I'm going to do that. Between 10 and 11, I'll be doing this. Now, those that lead generate first thing in the morning, while their willpower battery is high, achieve a better result than those who choose to lead generate in the afternoon when their willpower battery is depleted. So I would encourage you from 8 to 11 to block that out for your lead generation and lead follow-up time. And then you can get to everything else. So think about the tasks that you have to do throughout the day that are not dollar productive, yet they still need to be done. Things like checking email, returning phone calls, attending inspections, going to closings, things like this. They're things that have to be done. However, they're not necessarily dollar productive activities. Now, I know what you're saying. Attending a closing is not a dollar productive activity. No, it's really not. Rather, what is dollar productive is those 5 things I shared with you at the beginning of our webinar. The first is lead generation. The second is lead follow-up, then going on appointments, negotiating contracts, and practicing your skill. And when you spend the early mornings of the day just energizing yourself by doing these dollar productive activities, well, the afternoon generally takes care of itself. Yet most people, here's how their day goes. They get into the office, I'm going to check email. Oh no, a Facebook alert. Oh, look at LinkedIn. Oh, I've got some messages on LinkedIn. I'm going to check that out. Oh, here comes the mailman. I wonder if there's a check in there, right? And unfortunately, they end up with 15 things all working at once. They've diluted their focus and they've mistaken movement for achievement. See, rather, when you've invested the strategic thought time to build out this perfect week schedule, well, then you can essentially say, no, I'm going to do that task later, because there's interrupted workflow versus focused workflow. Do you know that researchers estimate that there's 43 interruptions in an 8-hour workday in corporate America? Now, you're in real estate, right? It's a heck of a lot more than 43. Yet when we say yes to this distraction, what we have to do is we have to switch task from the primary work, reorient to the distraction, deal with the distraction, and then switch task back to the primary work. Now, if you're like me, what you have to do, if let's say we're typing in an email and you were interrupted halfway through it, if you're like me, then what you have to do is reread what you've already typed out just to get back in that train of thought. So researchers estimate that we're literally losing 28% of our productivity due to interruptions. So rather though, again, when you've got your time block schedule built, then I'd encourage you to treat it like your high school schedule. So go back to high school with me real quick. First day of high school, you get your schedule from the administrator. You know you need to be in room 1A by 8 a.m. before the bell rings, or it could affect your grade. And you're going to sit down and you're going to study that subject for 55 minutes. Then when the bell rings, you got a couple of minutes to collect your things, because in 5 minutes, you have to be down the hall at room 8B to study another subject for 55 minutes. Now imagine a high school where you went into the administrator and they say, oh, no, we don't do schedules here. You just go to whatever class you want whenever you want. I'll tell you what, I would have gotten an A in PE and recess, and that's about it, right? See, rather, when you work a time block schedule, then and be disciplined to that, again, you'll have all the freedom, all the flexibility, and all the financial wealth that you can handle. And those are the 3 reasons most people get into real estate, isn't that right? They want all the freedom, they want all the flexibility, and they want financial wealth, yet they choose freedom and flexibility first. Therefore, they never get around to wealth. And I know this isn't going to sound right, yet discipline creates freedom, flexibility, and wealth. So I just encourage you to put that time block schedule together. For example, you know that friendly little window that pops up on your screen that tells you you have an email or a Facebook notification or something like this? Well, if you click on that and you go to your email inbox, here's what happens. You begin managing somebody else's priorities and not your own. And it's a conscious decision that you make. Rather, when you've got to this point of do it later and you've got a time block schedule, say from 12 to 12:30, again between 3:30 and 4, and finally between 5:30 and 6 that you're going to check email, then all you have to do is do what you say you're going to do, stick to that schedule. You could even have an autoresponder that says I'll be returning emails between 12 and 12:30, again between 3:30 and 4, and finally between 5:30 and 6. If this is urgent, please text me at this number. Your outbound voicemail could be exactly the same way. Hi, this is Shon Kokoszka. Thank you so much for your call. I'll be returning calls today between 12 and 12:30, again between 3:30 and 4, and finally between 5:30 and 6. Leave me your name and phone number, and given the 3 options, which is the best time for me to return your call? And by the way, if this is urgent, please text me at this number. So you give them an outlet. Yet they'll leave you a message like, hi, this is John. Given the 3 options, call me between 3:30 and 4, and here's the best number to reach me at during that time. And then again, just do what you say you're going to do. And you can effectively do it later, right? So let's go to the next point. And this is the final and last option, guys. That's do it now. Yet most realtors want to do everything right now. They mistake movement for achievement. So let's get to the final reason why they're not converting at a high percentage. And frankly, I think it's because they don't know what to say. They don't know how to say it, and therefore they're not saying it to enough people. And when you break it all down, those are the 3 metrics of success in this business. Know what to say, know how to say it, and say it to enough people. See, this is a contact sport, right? The more people you contact, the more business you're going to do. So let's get into this don't know what to say aspect. And I want to talk about buyer lead conversion specifically. See, the prospect, just like you, well, they have goals when they reach out to you. And this is going to seem counterintuitive, yet their first goal is to eliminate. See, think about it like this. Let's just say you're in the market for a used car. So you get the Auto Trader magazine. And let's say you're looking to buy my dream car, which is a 68 Super Sport Camaro. And you go to the Chevy section and you find the Camaro section and you begin flipping through these ads. Well, what you're doing consciously and subconsciously is you're looking to eliminate those cars that don't match your criteria. So you're crossing things off the list automatically. That's the wrong color. Oh, it doesn't have leather seats. It's not a convertible. It hasn't been refurbished. Oh, too many miles, right? And you're crossing these things off the list. Then you identify one that you're actually interested in. And you call that seller with a very short agenda, meaning something's missing from the ad And therefore, you're calling with a very short or shallow agenda. Maybe they left the mileage off of the ad. So you're calling to find out if it's within your criteria. And if it's not, you want to eliminate that ad. And you say something like, well, thank you very much. Have a good day. Goodbye, right? Buyer prospects, real estate buyer prospects are no different than you and I. So their second goal is to eliminate you as a salesperson. And getting on every call, there's a sale that's made. Either you sell them on why they should do business with you, or they sell you on why they shouldn't. So let's talk about AdEnsign calls. And most buyer prospects that actually pick up the phone and call your office, they ask this question, how much is it? Now, we live in a cause and effect world. So for every action, there's going to be a reaction, right? So you could just simply give them the price. Now, I think if you do that, by and large, they're going to eliminate the property. So the question here is, do buyer prospects call on properties they can't afford? Yeah, all the time, right? All the time. So the second action you could do is tell them all about the home and how wonderful it is. Now, I believe you can overtalk a sale. In fact, never say it with blah, blah, blah if it could be said with blah, right? So I think the reaction there is they want to eliminate you. The third thing you could do is tell them all about your company and how great you are. Oh, I'm the #1 agent in our market area. Ugh, gross. I think you'll get a dial tone, right? That's icky. Don't do it. So the goal is to get a valid name and a number and schedule an in-office appointment. Guys, if you meet them at the house, where is their energy? Where is their attention focused? Well, of course, it's on the house. If you meet them at a coffee shop, where's their energy and attention focused? Well, it's on the people in the coffee shop as well as the coffee. There's too many distractions, right? Rather, when you set an appointment for them to meet at your office, well, then their energy and attention is going to be on you, and that's what we want, right? So how do you do that? I think you master the first 5. And what I mean by that is the first 5 seconds of that incoming call. So you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So let's talk about how to do that. So when the buyer prospect calls in and says, how much is it? You say, oh, that's a great property. Seems like everyone's calling on that one. So you're in the market to buy a home. And they say, well, yes, we are. Or, no, we're not. Let's assume they've said yes. You say, fantastic. As they look that property up, tell me, what price range are you comfortable with? Now, in this 5 seconds, gang, you've accomplished 3 critical things. First, you've qualified the prospect. Are they in the market to buy a home or are they not? Second, you've gotten the price range that they're looking in before you've divulged any information on the property they contacted you about. And third, and most importantly, guys, you've gained control of the conversation through the use of what I call a transition strategy. See, the person talking in the conversation, undoubtedly, they dominate the conversation. However, the person who's asking questions controls that conversation. So with this simple transition strategy, you've done what I call cape the bull. So imagine you're the matador. You're in the middle of the arena, and the bull is charging at you. The bull is the how much is it question, or it's the agenda question that the buyer prospect has. Now, generally speaking, if you give a short and direct answer, like you give them the price, well, the bull just got you by the horns. You know, this call is over. Removed from that arena on a gurney because you're dead. See, rather, let's use this transition strategy. And a transition strategy, it's nothing more than a pattern interrupt. It causes a break state. In essence, it jars the prospect just a little bit and allows you to establish dominance and take control of the call. So I'll give you a couple of other transition strategies. For example, they say, calling on Main Street, how much is it? You say, oh, you must be another one of the neighbors. Again, it's something they don't necessarily expect, right? It's going to jar them a little bit. They'll say, no, actually not. Oh, so you're in the market to buy a home. Well, we sure are. Fantastic. As I look that property up, tell me, what price range are you comfortable with? Let's give you one more here. They say, calling on Main Street, how much is it? You say, excellent. Are you looking to buy just one home? Yeah, just one. Fantastic. As I look that property up, tell me, what price range are you comfortable with? So they say between 800 and $1 million. You say, good for you. You know, real quick, I'm logging into our platform. In a matter of moments, I'll be able to share with you all the information about the property you called me about. Plus, I'll let you know how many homes are currently on the market that match your specific search criteria. So tell me, how many bedrooms would you like to have? How many bathrooms per garage? Any particular style of home? Newer home, older home? What lot? Particular school district, right? Then you click the how many button, and now it's time to close. Now, there's one thing that's really important to this particular script, and that is the last sentence there that begins with, so tell me. See, most realtors will use phrases like, would you like me to do that for you? No, I wouldn't, right? Rather, assume the sale. Assume they want you to do this for them. Assume they've already said yes. So now you get there, it's time to close. Because what you've done is you've positioned yourself to possess something that the prospect wants. And when you possess something they want, then setting the appointment is relatively easy. So before I just share with you how to close for the appointment, let me just tell you that the stats of your competition. See, first off, 44%, now this comes from the book No Bull Selling. 44% of agents never ask for an appointment. In essence, the prospect closes them. Like, for example, they'll call in on a property, they'll say, how much is it? And they say, oh, it's on the market for $375,000. That happens to be in the buyer's price range. So like, perfect. How many bedrooms does it have? Oh, it's got 4. Oh, that's exactly what we're looking for. When can you show it to me? And the prospect actually asks the agent for the appointment, right? Goes up, even a blind squirrel finds a nut from time to time, right? 22% of agents quit after asking the first time. Another 34% give up after 2 times asking. 14% quit after the third, and 12% quit after 4 times asking for an appointment. Now I'm talking about the same call, okay? So this isn't multiple calls. This is that initial call. Now in the book, the author outlines that 92% quit after asking 4 times, yet 60% of buyers will say yes after the 5th time you ask. So what does that really mean? It means 8% of the agents wind up with greater than 60% of the business. Now remember that 8% that's willing to ask the 5th time for the appointment, well, they belong to that 92% as well. So it's much greater than the 60% that the author outlines. So with that said, how do you do that? See, it's about handling their objection, reposturing, and then asking again, because when you go to close for an appointment, they might say something like, well, let me talk with my wife and I'll call you back. Now let's recognize that what they're doing is they're playing a game with you. They're playing good guy, bad guy, right? I'm the good guy, it's my wife that's the bad guy. So because they're the good guy, I would encourage you to handle that objection like this. They say, well, let me talk to my wife and I'll call you back. You say, well, that's fantastic. And yet let me ask, if it's okay with your wife to meet with me, is it okay with you? Now remember, they're the good guy. So what are they always gonna say? They're gonna say, yeah, sure, of course. Well, fantastic. I'll tell you what, let's do. Let's simply pencil in a time that you think is gonna work best for your wife. I'll call you the day before to confirm, and if it works, fantastic. If it doesn't, well, we'll just simply reschedule the appointment. So tell me, what do you think is gonna work best for your wife? Weekdays or weekends? And then they'll say something like, well, can you just email me the listings? I'll drive by them. Well, I'd be happy to do that. In fact, I'll do it right now. Yet, can I share with you what kind of terrifies me about that? See, if I send you the listings and you drive by them, you might hate them. The challenge is I don't learn anything from that experience. And this part of the relationship, well, it's all about training your realtor, Shon, on exactly what it is that you're looking for. So what I'd love to do is just simply get you on the inside of 2 or 3 houses, listen to your feedback. See, I get to see over 200 homes per month, and I know the market better than anybody. And once I get that picture in my mind of exactly what you're looking for, I should be able to take you right to it. And you do want to see that, find your right home quickly, don't you? Excellent. So when is the best time you think is going to work best for your wife? Is it weekdays or weekends? See, that's the 3rd time that you've closed for the appointment. And all you do is just simply reposition yourself and ask again and ask again and ask again, because the bottom line is, if you let them off the phone, you're now stuck in the follow-up trap. And then getting them back on the phone is difficult at best, right? And chances are it's not going to happen because life happens. You're going to get busy with other things and that prospect is going to slip through the cracks. So rather, I say go for it. What have you got to lose? Nothing. Just develop your ability to really reposition and close again for the appointment. So here's the closing technique. It's ABC, and it's nothing cheesy like always be closing. I mean, no offense to Glengarry Glen Ross. I love the movie. I watch it at least once a year, and certain parts of that movie I probably watch once a month. So always be closing never did anybody any good in real estate sales. Rather, the new ABCs of selling are action, benefit, commitment. So you as the realtor outline the action. What do you want them to do? In this case, it's set an appointment for them to come to the office. Now, the moment you outline an action, there's a question that appears in the mind of the prospect. That's what's in it for me, or why should I do that? And that's why you immediately follow the action with a benefit. In essence, you say, here's what's in it for you. And by articulating the benefit, then it's time to go for the commitment, which I recommend alternative choice, which works best, weekdays or weekends. So here's what it looks like. And I know we're out of time, April, yet let me get this last point across and we'll wrap this thing up. So I added some NLP language patterns into this, which stands for neuro-linguistic programming. I've started with what I call an adverb presupposition. So you use that word fortunately. Now, gang, there's nothing fortunate about this. However, when you use that word consciously and subconsciously, their mind begins searching for something to feel fortunate about. So you say, fortunately, in order to get you one step closer to achieving your goal, all we need to do now is simply, which is another adverb presupposition, simply set an appointment, which is an embedded command for you to come to the office. Then you're gonna insert your benefit here. Now let's say it's a first-time home buyer. I'd say, let's set an appointment for you to come to the office. I'm gonna pull up all of the properties that match your unique search criteria, download the color photos. That way you can view them on screen in my office before spending your time or wasting your money on gas to drive by them. I'll learn about what you're looking for. Plus, I'm gonna take you through an initial counseling session that's gonna help you eliminate the common pitfalls that buyers fall into that cost them tens of thousands of dollars. Plus, I'm gonna share with you proven negotiating strategies that are gonna help you get the best price on the home that you purchase. So now that I've articulated several benefits, I'm gonna go for the close. So tell me, when is the best time for us to get together? Is it weekdays or weekends? So guys, when you follow this simple ABC method, then it's easy to develop dialogue, it's easy to develop scripts, and these become the staple of your real estate career. See, 80% of your success in this business, if not more, is going to be determined by your ability to close for appointments. So I'd encourage you to develop ABC scripts for the following categories: first-time home buyers, empty nesters downsizing, move up buyers, investors, hold or flip, as well as second home buyers, and finally, getting permission for your lender to call your prospect. Guys, when you get permission from the prospect to have your lender give them a call, and that lender is your third-party endorsement, your ability to convert that prospect increases exponentially. So it would sound something like this. You start that line of questioning with, are you paying cash or obtaining financing? Because we don't want to assume that they need a mortgage, right? They say, oh, I wish I could pay cash, I need a loan. Well, have you been pre-approved, and do you have a lender letter in hand as of yet? And they say, well, yeah, I've been approved through quickenloans.com. You're thinking, oh, wonderful. No matter their answer, yes, no, whatever. Then you say, well, I consider it my job to help my clients save money through all aspects of the home purchase, especially their mortgage. So I'll tell you what, let's do. I'd like to have my lender just simply give you a call. That's the action, okay? Now this has consistently beat other lenders in our market area, as well as quickenloans.com, on closing costs as well as interest rates. And let's face it, even an 8% difference in interest rate, well, that could turn into tens of thousands of dollars of the lifetime of this mortgage, right? I mean, we're talking 15 or 30 years, aren't we? So tell me, when is the best time for my lender to give you a call? Is it weekdays, weekends, or in the next 10 minutes? So leverage this action benefit commitment strategy, gang, and I promise you your conversion rate will double, triple, or even quadruple. By the way, if you're interested in Icon coaching, if you're interested in any of the training that we do that undoubtedly increases your trajectory, your productivity, and profitability, you can reach us at our website at iconcoachingre.com. And I'll give you my personal email address as well. It's Shon, S-H-O-N, at iconcoachingre for realestate.com. So April, thank you for having me on today. I've had a blast kind of going through this little slide deck here, and I trust that our listeners have gained something from this.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming, Shon.
It's my pleasure. Well, I believe in what Chime's doing, and I'm happy to add value to your clients, your prospects, any chance I get. So I trust we can do this again. I'd love to take these guys through the 20-point buyer presentation at some point in the coming months.
Oh, absolutely. And we're going to be sending this recording, just so in case anyone misses any of this information, we're going to be sending this recording to them or to all of you via email. In addition, we'll be posting this on YouTube, so you can always refer back to it. That said,
Fantastic.
John, it's always really great to collaborate with you. I'm very excited to send everyone the ebook that we collaborated with earlier this year or earlier last year now, and send everyone
Yeah.
those that ebook also.
Awesome, April. Well, thanks for having me.
Well, thank you, and thank you everyone for joining.
Yeah, my pleasure. Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Bye now.